This is a public service announcement. Magnetic lashes are just as hard. I'm not going to deny that there is an art to putting on false lashes, but magnetic lashes, you have to be so exact with the line that you get, otherwise it looks chunky. Look at this. So I didn't put any eyeliner on first of all. Put these on at like 7 in the morning. It's 6 now. They're falling off. I do my best not to touch them, but it just looks chunky. And when you take them off afterwards, or if they accidentally fall off, there's no getting them back on. You have to reapply with that magnetic liner. So I am saving you all money unless you are ready to put the work in to learn how to do it properly and you have the time to do it. These are not going to help you at all. You're better off just doing mascara. I consider myself to be pretty good at putting on eyeliner. I've taken a long time to learn how to do it exactly. I know because of my hooded eyes that I have to do a thinner line so I have more eyelid space. That is not an easy feat with magnetic lashes. Let me tell you, it's not something you can just pick up and do. Now, if my warning wasn't enough to keep you from buying them and you are ready and you're saying, let's do this, I'm going to buy a magnetic lash, I'm going to buy false eyelashes, buy the glue and do it. But I want to learn how to do my eyeliner first so that I can perfect the look. Stay tuned. This tutorial's for you. I've removed my makeup from the day and I'm ready to show you guys how I do my liner. So step 1 is always to prime. But I got really excited and did it before. But I will let you know that I did use the Smashbox 24-hour Photo Finish Shadow Primer. For today's look, we will be doing eyes first. I want the focus for this look to be mostly on the eyeliner, so I'm just going to quickly do like a very basic kind of brown look. I'll be using Too Faced Natural Matte Palette, and I think I'm going to go with this first row here, which is all brown shades. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my transition shade. And I will be using the middle one here as a transition shade Less is More. And I'm just going to sweep that across my lid space. For the first time, I'm just going to kind of lay it across. And then depending on how strong I'll want it, I'll build it up a little bit, but not a crazy amount, because in the case of today's look, less is more. But I find the gel liner that comes with it irritates my eyes a bit, hence why I don't normally wear it all day. Now, I finished with my transition shade here, so I'm going to go in with the next shade, which I'm going to go across my eyelid with, which is this first one here called Heaven. And it's a very white and chalky color. So it will just kind of pop the whites of my eyes a bit. Notice the difference between this eye and this eye. That is why I love putting a lighter shade on my lid, because I feel like it just has such a nice effect. And I'll just sweep that across both eyes. So now I've got my eyelid done, and I'm just going to make sure that that's blended in to our transition color really well. Now, you could leave it like this, but I'm still going to go in with this last darker brown shade called Sexpert, and I'm just going to create a little bit of a V on my eyelid, and I'm going to do that by stamping it in and dragging it a little bit, but not too much, just kind of a light drag. Now, I'm also not actually going in my crease because I have hooded eyes, so I want to avoid putting all the color in the crease, because when I'm looking at you directly, it just gets hidden in there, but I want people to be able to see it. So I drag it just above where my actual crease is to create kind of like a second crease. and then just blending it into that transition color. I also stop it at the midway point of my eye when I'm creating a V like this, because it makes my eyes appear just a little bit bigger. Right? Now for the other side. So I like to use the L'Oreal Paris Carbon Black Liner Intense. Keep in mind while I'm doing this, I'm keeping it very thin and as close to my lash line as possible because of my eyes. But if you have more lid space, you can play with the thickness of your liner. Even if you have hooded eyes, just play with the thickness of the liner anyways. Have some fun with it. I start from my lower lash line, right here. Oh. Right there. So you can see where my last lash comes out of my eyelid. That's where I've placed that liner. For the purpose of today's video, I'm going to show you with a bit of a flick as well. Now the technique here is you want to lay over top and just flick it. Like it ain't nobody's business. Like you're writing a check next to your eye saying, that's a good eye. What I like about the felt liner, I like that it's nice and thin so that you can go over it a few times without it looking messy or too thick on your eye. So even though it's a little patchy right now, I'm not going to do too much with it because I want to make sure that I can get this eye to have a similar effect as well. Same thing on this side. I'm starting from the lower lash line and I'm bringing it out just a bit. Then when I'm ready, I'm going to go back over that line. I just drag it out a bit more and give myself a check. Now, I like the angle that they're at, but this one just needs to be a little bit longer. So I'm going to fix that. Check. I always feel like I can get my right side so much better than I can get my left side. Maybe it's because I'm right-handed. But I'll still leave the edge here just a little patchy looking. Just so it looks like that line is starting to taper off. So the technique that I'm using to place my eyeliner on is to just start with the tip and I drag it back. I place it down where I want it to go and then I drag it across ever so lightly, very patiently, all the while making sure that I get a nice thin line. And if I reach a point where I'm struggling, like right here, I know that means that I may have to go in and make this eyeliner just a little bit thicker. But I will always complete the full look on both sides before I make that decision. To this side, same thing, just above where we had it before. This area just before the corner of my eye right here, I will always leave it as thin as possible. Obviously with thicker liner, sometimes that's not always what you want to do. But in today's case, I've got a really thin line going that I'm loving, so I don't want to mess with that. Now, one of the downsides to liquid eyeliner is that because it takes a little bit to dry, sometimes you can get transfer up here. So until it's set properly, just really make sure you're not opening your eyes up so wide that it transfers above, in the same way that you wouldn't want it to transfer when you've just done your mascara. But once it's set, you can go ahead and go in with your eyelashes, your mascara, everything else to finish the look. So next step, I'm going to do my face. But before I show you how to work your concealer around this line, I'm going to go ahead with my foundation, and I'm just going to do that off camera. So now I've put my foundation on. I'm going to show you how to go in with your concealer afterwards without messing up your eyeliner. There's two techniques that I'm going to show you today. And the first I'm going to show you is with the sponge. You want one with a sharp tip like that, because when you get close to the edge there, you're going to need to be very careful and precise. And this type of sponge will help you with that. The concealer I'll be using is L'Oreal Paris Infallible Full Wear. And I'll just do a little bit underneath my eye and into this corner here. Not too much. Once I've placed the concealer where I want it, I'll start to go in and gently pat it across my lower lid, little into my corner space, and up to my eyebrow, just to connect it, all the while keeping it blended with my foundation. Now, when I get to the edge here, same thing, I'm going to repeat that technique, dragging it across and just below the eyeliner line, just here, and then blend it down. And that will really sharpen up the look, because the black line just really stands out like that. So now I'm going to go ahead in the other side, and to do that I'm going to use a concealer brush. So this is just a flat brush like this. You can get smaller ones than the one that I have here, but it's a flat brush with a rounded tip, and it's fairly thin. And it's the same idea, except you can get in a lot closer than you did with the sponge. But after placing it, you end up going in with the sponge anyways to kind of blend out the pieces. And I feel like for me, it just creates so much better of a look. So I'm taking care when I go up and along the eyeliner that I've created. And once you've got a decent amount to get in close to that liner, you can switch to the sponge and then get rid of the excess. Work it into the foundation that you already have on. Now this has nothing to do with the eyeliner, but I just put a little bit too much on the other side, so I'm working it into other areas of my face where I'll usually put concealer anyways, just to get rid of some of that excess. Otherwise it's going to look really weird. This eye is going to be really white. So once you're happy with your concealer, you're going to want to make sure that you set the concealer with a setting powder, and I'm going to be using the Ciate coconut setting powder. Alright, I'm going to let that set into my skin, and then I'm going to do the rest of my look off camera and come back to show you the final full effect. So this is the final look. Now one thing I want to explain to you guys is that I took some of that dark brown that we were using in the corner and I brought it down along my lower lash line and just blended it across just to create a more full effect. I also added some blush, bronzer, and my lipstick. Let me know in the comments below if you think the next time that you try eyeliner that this is what you're going to attempt to do. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you next time. Because no other one